Let's have a moment of silence. Okay, amen. Okay, now we have roll call. Mr. Pantazi,
Present.
Ms. Thompson,
Present.
Mr. Davis,
Okay. Let me, the meeting started.
Mr. Davis not here,
Freedom
Ms.
Maryland.
Lewis.
I got a country.
Mr. Davis just joined the call.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Davis. So we have a quorum. Okay,
Good morning.
thank you. So the first thing we'll have, need to make a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
I make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Okay, the motion has been adopted for the agenda to move on forward. Okay, the next thing, we're gonna turn the meeting over to Mrs. Todd, who will proceed with the presentation and approval of the HABD's 2022 annual plan. Okay, Ms. Todd?
Vice Chairman Lewis, before Ms. Todd go, can I say a couple things, please?
Of course, okay, sorry.
No, one, I just want to make agenda that we will not be approving it today. Today is just a public hearing and a presentation. We'll receive any comments or any recommendations, review them and make any adjustments that's needed, but we will not be approving it. The submission of the package will be approved for our next regular scheduled board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
And also, I know you made you already recognized in terms of a moment of silence. And as we continually talk and discuss some of the goals that we have around ensuring that, that our clients, along with our community and our staff members are safe. I know that we're going to go through this later, but I just want to mention that the staff, we sat down and we worked together and had some conversations with our police department, looking at our police contract, security contract. And we did allocate $6 million for security upgrades, including lighting, cameras, scanners, anything that's necessary to help provide a safer environment for our clients, along with the staff that's working on the sites, along with set aside, I think it's close to $1 million for issues related to connectivity to ensure our clients have Wi-Fi throughout, partnering that with some of the governmental funding and grant money that's available. And lastly, we're looking at our after-school program for the summer and different activities for our young people, improving those efforts to help deter some of the criminal elements that's occurring at our various properties. We're setting some money aside of our operations funding out of our capital funds program. As you guys well know, we received $12.8 million this year. And right now we're still working on some prior year's monies, but we want to make sure that we made a point to say that we're trying to do what we can as an organization to provide, safe, decent, and sanitary housing and protect the clients that's on our sites. So with that being said, I can turn it over to Ms. Todd so she can go over the overall presentation.
Okay, Ms. Todd?
All right, Vice Chair Lewis.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, while we're waiting, we have our new legal team on the call, I believe. Attorney French, I think this is their first meeting as our new general counsel. So I think they're on the call.
Okay, so we want to turn over to Ms. French while we're waiting.
No, well, I just wanted to let you know that Mr. Courtney French should be on the call. He's our new, that's our general counsel. This is their first meeting. We just wanted to welcome them.
Thank you so much for that, Commissioner Davis and Vice Chair Lewis, all the commissioners, Mr. Northern. It's an honor for us to be here. This is our first meeting. Also on with me is Jennifer Willis. You'll see her name there listed, who's my paralegal. Once we have a chance to meet all in person, you'll have a chance to meet Jennifer as well. But it's an honor for us to be serving as your general counsel and looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
Acknowledge our colleague, Ms. Dwana Thompson, on her new position as the interim director for the BCRI. That's a huge accomplishment, and I just want to publicly acknowledge our colleague and kudos to you, Commissioner Thompson. And we know you're going to do great things with the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. And so we just looking forward to working with you in any way we can. So again, kudos and congratulations to you.
Commissioner Davis, thank you so much. I'm actually here at the Institute, which is why I'm not necessarily on the camera right now, but I'm excited for the opportunities that we can serve our clients and our communities there with HABD, and we look forward to just doing the work that we know we need to do.
Very good.
And while we're waiting, I just make a few comments, other comments that we have going on. Mr. Turner's department of communications started a spotlight where they started spotlighting a number of our a number of our staff members, our team members throughout the various departments, just giving a little background and insight on the real individuals that's doing some of the work at the Housing Authority, so that not only can other team members and staff members be aware of who and what they're doing, but also just sharing to the community in general. So you may have seen a couple of them, well, at least one so far on our Facebook. Another exciting thing that we had done this week was we submitted 2 letters of intent to the move to work office, and that was for cohorts 3 and 4. I know 4 deals with landlord initiatives, and we know that we have so much to do as relates to repositioning our properties, and we want to ensure that we recruit and retain the best landlords and have the best properties for any of our clients to go to as we go through demo and different rehabs of our various communities. Also, cohort 3, I can't remember what that one was. What is that one, Ms. Foster? You remember that one?
Work requirements.
Work requirements, yeah. So coupled with those 2 together, we're hoping that HUD see if it to allow us to use the MTW status as flexibility to help create a better opportunity for our clients and the community of Birmingham overall. I came from, well, in Champaign, we had MTW status, and that really gives us a great opportunity to fine tune, plan, and think outside the box. So right now, it looks like we may have that opportunity to be accepted. However, we're still working through, different points of internally, but we're waiting on HUD to respond now. But we did put our bid in saying that we were looking to be one of those new agencies that they're creating, another 100 agencies throughout our nation as MTW status. Also with the eviction moratorium, excuse me. Also that we serve that may not be able to pay rent as a result of some of the difficulties with COVID and job losses and things like that. And we're working with the city really closely to secure that we maintain living environments for our clients, and the city had dedicated to working with us to help pay down some of that debt that's related to residents unable to pay with some of the new funding that they received that's earmarked for the eviction moratorium. So that's a good thing that our clients will be safe from eviction, and we continually work and build partners in our community to help provide a better place for our clients to serve and just protect them. I know the stress of thinking about not being able to pay your rent. So as we move forward, we'll continually update you along with our clients on what happens related to getting some of that debt relief for the.
Vice Chair Lewis, are you there?
Now I am. I'm having a little difficulty over here also.
Okay, I was just trying to make sure I wasn't on the call by myself. I know
Oh,
we lost
no,
Mr. Northern.
no, the voice keep going in and out. So I could see people's lips moving, but I couldn't hear anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he must be in a bad area.
Well, I just moved to the other side of the room, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, I was speaking about Mr. Northern. He may be in a bad area. Because he went.
I'm still here, Commissioner
You
Davis.
know.
I'm still
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just trying to give you guys, give you some insight on some of the things that we were doing, as we prepare to go over our plan. We do apologize about the technical difficulties.
Yeah,
related
that's
to the
okay.
power
Yeah, things happen.
So
Well,
Ms. Todd has moved to a laptop, so we won't, with built-in different internet access, so we won't have any more interruptions. So I think we're about ready to proceed at this point. Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, Mr. Northern, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, while we giving out kudos and we're trying to fill in some space here, I would also like to give kudos to you and your staff. I was going through the HUD Southeast Regional newsletter, and I came across a very nice article that I sent to you concerning our Section 3 department, and Ms. Jackie French was leading a talk throughout the Southeast from public housing authorities throughout the Southeast. I think it was about, correct me if I'm wrong, over 1,000 folks that were a part of this meeting, and our very own Ms. French was leading that discussion on best practices for Section 3. So I just want to give a shout out to you, Mr. Northern, your staff, Ms. French, for being a leader in that space. That's very important when we're talking about Section 3 and providing opportunities. So I just want to give a shout out to you and Ms. French and the staff for putting HABD on the national spotlight.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I read that also, and reached out to Ms. French myself and let her know how excited I was to see that, HABD always leads from the front, right? So that's what we want to do, continually get that narrative out there in the right way and be leaders in this industry. So I appreciate that, sir.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I do apologize for the technical difficulties. I think we're good now. So we're going to begin with the first plan element, which is deconcentration and other policies that govern eligibility, selection, and admissions. And I'm gonna call on Mr. Blankenship and Housing Op.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, we still don't have internet back here in the back of the building, so I'm talking to you on the landline and I'm watching your faces on my cell phone. On the deconcentration policy, we had no changes. The objective of the deconcentration rule for public housing units is to require that families are housed in a manner that will prevent a concentration of poverty families and or a concentration of higher income families in any one development. To assure that HABD does not concentrate families with higher income levels, it's the goal of HABD not to house more than 60% of its units in any one development with families whose income exceeds 30% of the area median income. Currently, 30% of the AMI is $21,930, and HABD currently has no site with an average income at or above 30% of the AMI. Also, there is a chart available there that lists the current annual average income for each site, each public housing site. Are there any questions on the deconcentration rule? Okay.
I'm sorry. Okay, so now we'll move on to special admissions and the foster initiative. That'll be Section 8, Ms. Drake.
Good morning. Special admissions, special cooperation with states attorneys and or law enforcement agencies to relocate households. The authority from time to time may cooperate with states attorneys and or law enforcement agencies to relocate households eligible for rent assistance for protection of potential witnesses. Such actions will be taken with administrative discretion and approval of the authority's Board of Commissioners. An example of such action may, but not necessarily, be limited to a household whose member or members has extended themselves in the public interest which place them in personal jeopardy. Special transfers or relocations by authority. The authority from time to time may need to relocate or transfer a household to and or from our Section 8 or public housing programs for various reasons. Such actions will be taken with administrative discretion and approval of the authority's Board of Commissioners. The next action is the Foster Youth Initiative. Please scroll up to Exhibit K. Thank you. Vouchers provided by HUD for youth eligible under the Family Unification Program is subject to availability. Special preference. The Housing Authority of the Birmingham District hereby establishes a waiting list preference for the Foster Youth to Independence (FYI) initiative. Whereas youth referred by the Alabama Department of Human Resources must be certified by said agency, has attained at least 18 years and not more than 24 years of age, left foster care or will leave foster care within 90 days in accordance with a transition plan described in Section 4755H of the Social Security Act, age 16 or older, and is homeless or at risk of becoming homeless at age 16 or older. At the time of application, initial determination of an applicant's entitlement to the HABD local preference for FYI as described above may be made on the basis of the applicant receiving certification from the Alabama Department of Human Resources and must be verified upon selection from the waiting list. The preference points available for the Foster Youth to Independence Initiative will be 10 points. Funding. HABD may request a minimum of 1 voucher and a maximum of 25 vouchers per federal fiscal year. Additional vouchers may be requested with 90% or greater utilization. Vouchers will be requested for a specific person or persons qualifying for a FYI voucher. Youth eligibility. The population eligible to be assisted are youth certified by Alabama Department of Human Resources as meeting the following conditions. 1, has attained at least 18 years and not more than 24 years of age. 2, left foster care or will leave foster care within 90 days in accordance with a transition plan described in Section 4755H of the Social Security Act at age 16 or older, and 3, is homeless or is at risk of becoming homeless at age 16 or older. Homeless refers to the population included in the definition of this term at 24 CFR 578.3. At risk or becoming homeless means the population defined as at risk of homeless at 24 CFR 576.2. Please note, eligibility is not limited to single persons. For example, pregnant and or parenting youth are eligible to receive assistance. Youth referral. Youth must be certified by the Alabama Department of Human Resources as eligible for assistance under this notice and refer to the Housing Authority for assistance. The Housing Authority must determine eligibility for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Additional program requirements, turnover. Vouchers awarded under this notice for eligible youth will continue to be used for other eligible youth upon turnover. If another eligible youth is not available, the PHA must notify HUD, and HUD will reduce the PHA's HCV assistance to account for the removal of the FYI assistance from the PHA's HCV baseline. HUD will monitor the utilization of vouchers awarded through this notice on an annual basis, and any unutilized voucher assistance that is no longer needed will be recaptured and reallocated as authorized under the 2020 Act. B, youth failure to use voucher. Should a youth fail to use the voucher, the PHA may issue the voucher to another eligible youth if one has been identified. If another eligible youth is not available, the PHA must notify HUD, and HUD will reduce the PHA's HCV assistance to account for the removal of the FYI assistance from the PHA's HCV baseline. C, waiting list administration. Upon receipt of a referral or referrals from the Alabama Department of Human Resources of an eligible youth. Compare the names with youth already on the PHA's HCV waiting list. Any youth on the PHA's HCV waiting list that matches with the Alabama Department of Human Resources referral must be assisted in the order of their position on the waiting list in accordance with PHA admission policies. Any youth certified by the Alabama Department of Human Resources as eligible and not on the HCV waiting list must be placed on the waiting list pending HCV eligibility determination. Due to the nature of FYI vouchers, the waiting list will always remain open for FYI referrals. D, length of assistance. As required by statute, the FYI voucher may only be used to provide housing assistance for youth for a maximum of 36 months.
Thank you. Are there any questions or feedback? Okay, we'll move forward to financial resources, and that's finance. Celine.
Good morning. This is Josh Wilson, Senior
Okay.
Accountant. Celine had to step away for a moment.
Okay.
Financial resources, plan sources and uses. The Public Housing Operating Fund, $30,060,320. The Public Housing Capital Fund, $12,555,26. CARES Act funding, $4,759,762. Annual contributions for Section 8 tenant-based assistance is $39,966,000. CARES Act funding for leased housing, $1,587,524. Carbon monoxide grant, $249,984. Community Foundation of Greater Birmingham, $100,000. Other federal grants, Ross Service Coordinator, $717,750. Public housing dwelling rental income, $5,804,570. Income on investments is $150. Sales and services of $55,000 and other income of $45,700 for a total resources of $95,901. I'm sorry, $95,901,786,000.
Are there any questions or feedback? If not, we'll move on to rent determination. That'll be housing op. Mr. Blankenship.
Rent determination. On January 17, 2014, then President Barack Obama signed the Department of Housing and Urban Development Appropriations Act of 2014. Section 210 of that act amended the U.S. Housing Act of 1937 to create a new rule for flat rents for all public housing agencies. The new rule would be to base flat rents at 80% of the area fair market rent. On November 19, 2020, the HABD Board of Commissioners approved the 2021 flat rent schedule. Those flat rents went into effect January 1, 2021. New residents at the time of move-in and current residents at the time of yearly recertification are offered the choice to pay the current flat rent, which is 80% of the area fair market rent, or pay income-based rent, which is 30% of the family's allowable adjusted gross income. If a family's income is sufficient enough to where the income-based rent is higher than the flat rent, the family is allowed to pay the lower of the two. There's also a chart provided that shows the 2021 area fair market rents for Birmingham and the 80% of that, which would be the maximum flat rent. Are there any questions on the flat rent determination? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. We'll move forward to operation and management. That's human resources. Ms. Jefferson Mitchell, are you available? Okay, Ms. Jefferson Mitchell may not be on, but I can tell you the only change on the organizational chart is that we added.
Ms. Todd, she's available.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As Ms. Todd was stating, this is a copy of the organizational chart. So it's showing all of the employee position and the hierarchy. And so the only change that you would see is the senior vice president / chief of staff. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so Mr. Northern, are you on the call? Is Mr. Northern on the call?
Yes, I'm on a call. It's in a bad area. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so we're discussing the organizational chart. I just want to make sure that you've had a chance to review this chart, and this chart was put together after your review and approval.
Yes, I did have an opportunity to review that, and I know commissioners, along with myself and some of the leadership team members, we've had a discussion that we may make some adjustments to the org chart later on this year. But at this time, that's the chart we want to go with, sir.
Well, very good. Well, I think we passed a resolution several months ago, Vice Chair Lewis, to state that when the new president CEO came aboard, that he would have the latitude to revise the org chart as he saw fit. So I think that's in the minutes.
It is.
Okay.
Yes, and at this time, the only change that we had was creating a position in the role of chief of staff, which currently is occupied by Ms. Foster.
I'm kind of reserving most of my comments for the end just to go through them quickly, but it seems like a good chart to me. The only question I have is, the way it's laid out, it looks like it all works. I just want to make sure we're compliant with HUD standards on the way that we've delineated these kind of little lines going to each role. So as long as we feel we're compliant with that, and Mr. Northern believes that this is the best allocation of our resources, then I'm fine with it.
Yes, HUD has some limited standards around org chart. They kind of leave it to the local jurisdiction to choose which roles they have, unless something is really out of the ordinary. And so, again, as I mentioned earlier, and some of the conversations that we had at this time, the org chart fits our needs as an organization to serve our clients and protect the resources of the housing authority of Birmingham District.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
And we'll move forward to home ownership. It's real estate development.
Good morning. I'll take it inside.
Okay.
Good morning. So as far as home ownership, I think you have on the screen our homeownership units and public housing programs. Right now, you see our various partnerships with the listed financial institutions and the participants who are a part of the program. HABD currently have a total of 35 homeownership units in public housing. And I think that's it right now for homeownership, Ms. Todd.
So, Ms. Todd, I have a question.
Okay.
On the home ownership units. I know that in the past, we had some issues with encumbrances on title for a lot of these properties. And I would like to know where we are on that process. That's something that if you want to provide that report to the board at a later date, Ms. Hilliard or whoever needs to do that. We had some major title issues where I think we were doing lease purchase programs, and we weren't able to move forward with the purchase of these properties because there were, like I said, there were encumbrances on title. There were title issues that were not resolved. And so, if we can get a report on that at some point to let us know where we are on those properties and those title issues.
You are correct, Commissioner Davis. We have procured for a real estate advisor who's a part of our team right now and evaluating much of those concerns with homeownership. We will prepare a report for you at a later date.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. We'll move forward to community service and self-sufficiency programs, and that'll be Ms. French.
Okay. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone else that's on the call. So we have the community services and hold on, who's scrolling? Come back down for me. Okay, that's good. That's good right there. Okay, so pretty much with the self-sufficiency programs, you know, it consists of the FSS program, which is split into two. We have FSS coordinators, the program on the public housing side and on the section 8 side. You scroll down. Okay. So with this chart is it's breaking it down as to what's required as far as the program for us to sustain our grant, what's required of participants. Leading up, we will have a minimum of 75. And as you can tell, as of March 31st, 2021, we're at 128. So as you can tell, you have a lot of people who are interested in the program, and we're working with them so they can obtain their self-sufficiency goals. And that's just on the public housing side. On the house choice voucher, which is section 8, the requirement is 50. We're at 141. So like I said, as you can tell, we have over exceeded the minimum requirements for this program. The other program that we have is the ROSS program, the Resident Opportunity and Self-Sufficiency Program. A lot of our residents are not prepared yet for ROSS. I'm sorry, for FSS, meaning they may have barriers that would keep them from, obtaining their goals. Maybe there's some literacy issues or childcare issues that would prevent them from obtaining any self-sufficiency goals that they place for themselves. So this program is put into place to assist one-on-one with those residents. And as you can tell with the numbers, we have 3 ROSS coordinators at Illiton. We just moved one of our coordinators over to Kimbrough, so she's beginning, and then we have Cooper Green. So the Kimbrough, she actually just started within the first 30 days, so she's in the middle of recruitment as of now. So as you can see, also with this program, we are over the required number at 76 at Illiton and 89 at Cooper Green. Okay, go back up for me. Okay, so right here, as we talk about our goals, the main goal for FSS is definitely to increase and maintain our participation rate in the program, at least 100% annually, which means if a resident signs up for the program, we want them to maintain their participation at 100%, and that's what we're calling for every year. The second goal should say 100% of FSS program participants maintaining employment. So like I said, in the FSS program, we do the main goal is to help our residents meet self-sufficiency. Employment is one of the biggest ways that our residents can maintain, can reach their goals, okay? The third goal is to increase the number of FSS participants with escrow accounts annually. So the escrow account is pretty much the attraction to this program, because some of our residents, they can escrow, and that money is put into an account for them to help them once they graduate from the program. Of course, it's a 5-year program. Once they graduate from the program, that money is given to them to help move on to self-sufficiency. They elect to move out of public housing. That It's a very, very good down payment if they choose to go into home ownership. And our next goal is to continue to sponsor the golf tournament. You know, the golf tournament, unfortunately, due to COVID and restrictions, we missed being able to do that. But that is something that we're looking forward to doing sometime in the near future. And then lastly, to sponsor an annual career and job fair to increase the numbers of working families participating in the FSS program. So one of the goals that we have to do with the FSS program is resources. We have to provide resources to our residents to help them meet these goals. We just can't throw them out there to find ways to become self-sufficient on their own. That's the goal of the coordinators, to do that. Any questions on FSS? Ross?
Well, I just add that you know, both of our submissions of our MTW activities will help further those efforts related to both of those programs.
Awesome. Okay, and we'll move on to section 3 if there's no questions. Okay, there we are. You missed it. There we go. There we go, right here. Okay, so over the last 5 years, HABD has significantly increased its Section 3 resident participation and Section 3 business concern participation. In the next 5 years, HABD will continue to remain compliant with HUD Section 3 regulations and ensure that Section 3 opportunities are made available to residents of HABD. Section 3 will implement the following goals to ensure the investments of Section 3 resources and opportunities into our residents. Goal number 1 is to increase Section 3 participation on all Section 3 covered construction and non-construction contracts and service contracts. Goal number 2 is to promote training and long-term employment opportunities for residents as Section 3 opportunities. Goal 3 is to help develop a resident-owned business for contract award on upcoming Section 3 covered projects. And lastly, to promote training and long-term employment opportunities for residents as Section 3 opportunities. Any questions on the goals set forth for the next 5 years for Section 3?
Ms. French,
Yes, ma'am.
in the Section 3 guidelines, did they just change and have a new set of guidelines that they're going by now?
Yes, ma'am. So last year, I believe it was November the 27th, the Section 3 rules did change. It actually has a new home, is in the CFR. So we are in the middle. I've gone to a few trainings on it. There seems to be a few issues, a lot of questions about the implementation of Section 3. So as soon as I get the go ahead, I'll be conducting a training with the staff here, the board, and then definitely the contractors, because it's a lot more paperwork for them. HUD believes the new rule and the new implementation of Section 3 will allow better opportunities for the residents and the people in the community. So once I get the go ahead to that a lot of these issues have been fleshed out, I will be conducting a training to anyone where Section 3 touches them, especially with our contractors, so they'll know how to be compliant.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If we don't have any more questions or feedback, we'll move forward to safety and crime prevention. That's Director Foreman, Public Safety.
Morning to the board, Mr. Norton, Mr. Foster, and everyone else who's on the call. In the Public Safety Department, we are currently in an agreement with the Birmingham Police Department as far as the safety and security of our HABD properties. This was executed on October 2019 with the Birmingham Police Department, this agreement. and it will be ending the end of June of this year. With that being said, a new police contract under Section 2 here, new police contract, we're going to be negotiating a new contract with a local law enforcement agency, whether it be the Birmingham Police or the Sheriff Department. We did have a virtual police contract discussion, included diversity of individuals, including Vice Chairman of the board, CPAB President, staff, property management, maintenance as well. And that discussion was very fruitful. And a lot of those fruits that came out of discussion was added into the scope of services that we're going to be asking for from our vendor in the next contract. And that is going to be to provide baseline police services for the following communities: Ellerton Village, Smithfield Court, Collegeville Center, North Birmingham Homes, Roosevelt City, Benjamin Green Village, Kimbrough Homes, Cooper Green Homes, Southtown Court, Tuxedo Terrace, Freedom Manor, Marks Village, Harris Homes, Morrell Todd Homes, Tom Brown Village.
Director Foreman, just a quick update on that is that our contract is provide above baseline services.
Yes.
I think in your comment you said baseline services. Just want to make sure that the record is correct.
Correction, yes, above baseline services. Also, we have plans to partner with City Action Partnership, that is CAP. Many of you may have heard of them. This partnership will assist clients and staff in the downtown area in the event of personally owned vehicles are broken down or need a jump start or gas. And so they'll be able to provide that. Following will also be provided safety patrols, security escorts, directions and helpful information, street outreach for the homeless. If there are homeless individuals in and around the area, they will assist with making sure they have their needs met. Litter patrols, pressure washing in public spaces, graffiti removal, and beautification. And these services will be provided Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 12 a.m., Saturday, 12 p.m. to 12 a.m. for the following communities: the Freedom Manor community and also Central Office, and for anyone who's in the downtown area.
Real quick before we move on, just a quick question for you there. Is there any thought to having CAP have a presence in any of the other facilities we have that would be in an area that CAP services?
Yes, mostly in my discussion with them, I know they service the downtown area. So anyone who's within their area or their map of responsibilities, they could also service as well.
Okay. Do you know, do they extend into Southtown, or is it, because I'm just looking at like Central Office, it would be somewhat close. I didn't know if there was a cutoff or not.
There is a cutoff. I don't have the information with me at the moment, but there is a cutoff. I'm not sure if Southtown is included or not.
Okay.
So I do want to add, Commissioner Fantastis, in the past, we did have discussion with CAP in covering some of our sites. And at that time, it was Freedom Manor and Central Office was the only two sites that were able to be covered.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Armed uniformed security officers posted at management's office and periodically patrol the properties during normal business hours to provide security for staff, clients, stakeholders, contractors, and deter crime. Currently, we do have armed security at the Smithfield Court with plans to modify and extend to the following locations: Marks Village, Morrell Todd Homes, Tom Brown Village, Ellerton Village, Collegeville Center, Kimbrough Homes, Section 8, and Central Office. Virtual public safety Zoom meetings by HABD Public Safety and Contract Law Enforcement Agency. These Zoom meetings will be to bring awareness on various policies on the Housing Authority and to provide a forum for clients to interact with the Director of Public Safety, Contract Law Enforcement Agency, and HABD staff. Contract Law Enforcement Agency complaint form. The complaint form will be provided at all of our properties in the rent office for the staff and also for the clients to be able to make criminal complaints. These criminal complaints will be investigated by HABD Public Safety and also the Contract Law Enforcement Agency. And the forms will also be available electronically as well upon request. Implement domestic violence prevention forums by Contract Law Enforcement Agency. This will be to educate our clients and staff on current laws as it relates to domestic violence, to create an awareness of domestic violence prevention and resources for all the following Housing Authority HABD sites, all the ones you see on the screen, which covers all of them. Also implement neighborhood block watch program by Contract Law Enforcement Agency. This will be to allow citizens in Ellerton Village, where it already is, the opportunity to assist public safety and law enforcement and reestablish a relationship with Harris Homes neighborhood block watch program. Future plans to expand the program to Smithfield Court and eventually to all the following communities that you see on the screen. Implement Safe Passage program by HABD Public Safety and Contract Law Enforcement Agency. The Safe Passage program is a program to protect our children when they walk to school. It is called the Walk in School Bus Initiative. And we have volunteers who will be set up along the route. Also, uniformed police officers and marked police vehicles at certain points to make sure that our children get to school safely. Be walking from the to Hayes Elementary School, K-8, from Todd Homes. We have future plans to expand the program to Tom Brown Homes and eventually to all the following HABD communities that you see on the screen. Implement gate attendance, day and evening shift at Collegeville Center, North Birmingham Homes, with plans to expand as well as modify to include weekend shifts. HABD Critical Response Team will respond to the scene of an incident on HABD property in times of extreme circumstances such as significant damage to property, loss of life of client, criminal investigations, etc. at any of the HABD communities. The members consist of the President, CEO, Senior Vice President, COO, Chief of Staff, Property Manager, and Assistant Property Manager, VP of Housing Operations, and Assistant VP of Housing Operations, VP of Community Engagement, and Director of Communications. Additional resources that comes along with the critical response team is an on-call grief counselors. When grief counselors may be needed for clients in the event of the loss of life of a loved one or any other traumatic situation. And the service would be provided in person or virtually for all the following HABD communities. You see there on the screen. Office of Constituent Concerns, OCC. The purpose of the HABD Office of Constituent Concerns is to help ensure that our clients and community that we are committed to open communications, especially when there is a problem that needs to be resolved. HABD OCC is a way to creatively and efficiently manage, track, report, and to mediate any outstanding community and client concerns, especially those regarding fair housing. The overall goal of the OCC is for our staff to listen to people, track matters, and follow through more efficiently in order to perform better as a public organization and effectively restore community confidence in the agency. The OCC will assist in receiving and resolving concerns within 48 hours in the tracking of the matter and confirmation of resolution. And here you have the OCC phone number and the uh, email address. Now, the difference in this complaint when individual calls the OCC is for any matter, and those matters will be immediately recognized and sent to the department head so the department head can make sure that the matter is taken care of. Lighting up. Lighting upgrade to LED and assessment for additional lighting by Alabama Power. Upgrade lighting to LED and assessment for additional lighting at Collegeville Center. Access for lighting replacement, repair, and provide additional lighting as needed for the following communities that you see on the screen. Now, Southtown Court is on there, but that would be in areas where no current lighting exists but is needed. Next, cameras and license plate readers, or LPRs. Now, these cameras and license plate readers will be positioned in a manner to be instrumental in helping to deter and solve crime. Systems will be federated with contract law enforcement agency for monitoring and response. We currently have this system in Southtown Court with plans to expand to all the following HABD communities that you see on the screen. Active shooter training. As the COVID subsides and we open up more, you will see more situations in active shooters. You may have already witnessed, seeing some in the media already. I know this morning there was something in the news about an active shooter. So I want to ensure that active shooting training is provided to our staff and clients by Jefferson County Sheriff's Offices, Jefferson County Training Academy. And this will be to create an awareness of what actions to take in response to an active shooter in order to preserve life. Training will be offered to staff and clients to all the following HBD communities you see on the screen. Violence Against Women's Act, VAWA. In accordance with the Violence Against Women's Act, this community will not deny housing or assistance to an applicant who otherwise qualifies because of the applicant's status as a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. And the applicant may certify they are a victim of domestic violence by providing any one of the following documents: certification of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking, Form HUD 91066. A signed statement from a victim, from a victim service provider, attorney, or medical professional who has helped the victim address incidents of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. A federal, state, tribal, territorial, or local police record or court record. Failure to provide any of those documents within 14 days of HABD's request could have an impact implementing VAWA's protection. HABD, on a case-by-case basis and due to mitigating circumstances, may extend the time period for submitting the documentation. Information provided by the victim in accordance with the certification shall be retained in confidence and not entered into any shared database nor provided to any related entity except when the disclosure is: 1, consented to by the applicant in writing; 2, required for use in eviction proceedings; or 3, as required by law. Similarly, criminal activity directly related to domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking engaged in by a member of the applicant/resident's household, any guest or other person under the applicant's residence counsel shall not be cause for termination of assistance, tenancy, or occupancy rights of the victim of the criminal acts. The VAW protection shall not supersede any provisions of any federal, state, or local law that provides greater protection for victims of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking. VAWA Emergency Transfer Plan. Eligibility for emergency transfer, a resident who is a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, or stalking as provided in HABD's Regulations Act 24 CFR Part 5, Subpart L, is eligible for an emergency transfer if the resident reasonably believes that there is a threat of imminent harm from further violence if the resident remains within the same unit. If the resident is a victim of sexual assault, the resident may also be eligible to transfer if the sexual assault occurred on the premises within the 90-day calendar day period preceding a request for an emergency transfer. A resident requesting an emergency transfer must expressly request a transfer in accordance with the procedures described in this plan. Residents who are not in good standing. I
Thank
believe.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Foreman. Any questions or feedback? If not, we'll move on to substantial deviation. And the next one after that is significant amendment and modification, and both of those are real estate development.
I do have one thing to bring up with Director Foreman too. It's two different things. One of them is maybe a broader issue that we can talk about towards the end, but one thing that I think we're trying to do is improve on evaluating end of term contracts. And so I think this kind of is also a question for Director Foreman as well as Mr. Northern. Do we have some information we can offer as an initiative in our annual plan that can address how we're going to be more proactive about making sure, you know, a new contract benefits the HABD that's put in place, you know, well in advance of the end of the term of the current contract so that we don't go without services. And so I would just highlight that as far as the safety contracts go so that we can kind of keep that in mind moving forward. But more importantly, and broader to the entire annual plan, I think it could be something we add in about how we're going to, whether it's creating an index or calendar of all of our contracts or a better way to efficiently evaluate them and proactively manage them. So that's just kind of one thing. And it sounds like Director Foreman, you're already you've got some ideas already about what you want to do there. So I'm excited to hear that. The second thing is, you know, I think it probably goes into everything that is in your report or in your plan, but one thing in particular I've noticed when I've looked at other cities and other housing authorities nationwide and some of the empirical data and research, there aren't really a lot of studies on crime safety prevention and how the camera interplay has an effect. And I think we now have a year or so of crime and safety data that you and your staff have been putting together that's been insightful. And I think the city has some statistics and things of that nature that we can also play with. I would be interested in making sure that we continue to track some of the metrics we're doing, but keep looking into the deeper data so that we can be smarter and safer and more cognizant of our, you know, our clients' concerns and also what outcomes we're seeing. You know, if we do X, does it create Y? And why is that? So just from a data standpoint, I think we're doing some good stuff, but I would really like us to continue to focus on that reporting and ultimately maybe even bring in some partners from UAB or other institutions that have some, you know, kind of more scholarly backgrounds in those sorts of things so that we can really be kind of a beacon in some of these initiatives that you've presented.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anybody?
I just wanted to respond
to Commissioner Fantastic say that those were good points, and what we can definitely do is put those statements in our plan to identify, the engagement and the additional data progression, and also to say that we will ensure that we will continue working under a contract as it relates to those safety initiatives, to say that we'll be ongoing on a contract for those services. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to real estate development. Ms. Hilliard.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. As it relates to our communities, our housing communities, as Mr. Northern mentioned earlier, we have so much to do as it relates to repositioning our sites, but a part of our PHA plan, as it relates to substantial deviation, we plan to exclude the following RAD specific items: the decision to convert to either PBRA or PBV assistance, changes to the capital fund budget produced as a result of each approved RAD conversion, regardless of whether they're proposed. Conversion will include the use of additional capital funds. Also, changes to the construction rehabilitation plan for each approved RAD construction, and changes to the financing structure for each approved RAD conversion. You can scroll down, Ms. Todd. Also, as it relates to, and I apologize, we still are down on the internet, so I'm looking from the iPhone here. As it relates to significant amendment modifications, if a proposed change to the agency plan is considered a substantial change, we'll undergo public process and consult with our resident advisory board. As it relates to reviewing and approving the Housing Authority Resident Advisory Board and commissioners, we define our significant changes to the agency plan to be significant changes to tenant and resident admissions policies, tenant and resident screening policies, changes to public housing rent policies, changes to the organization, public housing, HCV waiting lists, significant changes to our replacement reserve funds under the capital fund grant, as well as any identification of public housing units, property that will be subject to demolition, disposition, designation, and conversion activities. With that said, Ms. Ty, you can move along to our summary of things that we have brought to our resident council and that we're bringing here forth in the public hearing. As it relates to attachment J, demolition disposition, currently HABD intends to submit applications under Section 18 of the 1937 Housing Act to dispose and demolish some properties due to physical condition, environmental concerns, and/or neighborhood location. Below is a chart of those sites. I'll read them off: Illiton Village, Smithfield Court, Marks Village, Tom Brown. We had it listed as Morton Simpson, which is now Morrell Todd Homes, Collegeville, and North Birmingham. All of these sites will be considered for review for demolition and disposition, Section 18. As it relates to converting our public housing sites to project-based, the Housing Authority of Birmingham District intends to submit an application to convert various of our housing communities to project-based vouchers. We are evaluating which property best suits the notice from 2019-23. One of the key things to converting our public housing sites will be the adoption of the residents' rights, participation, waiting list, and grievance procedures. Below is just subject to each section as it relates to our residents' rights when we're converting our sites to RAD. One of the key things I do want to bring up, because I'm not going to read it necessarily verbatim as it's listed, because these are sections that are part of the public notice.
The authority's capital fund budget, we have reviewed it, and there have been some adjustments and changes as it relate to where we see our sites for RAD conversion. Initially, RAD was designed by HUD to assist in addressing the capital needs of public housing by providing HABD with access to private sources of capital to repair and preserve its affordable housing assets. So as we want to remind our residents, our clients in the community, as we look into converting these sites, we're stepping into the private sector arena for our communities. You're scrolling down, Ms. Todd. Okay, so the chart below, I think we've kind of jumped over that chart. We're just identifying some of our other RAD sites. It is anticipated that we will convert most of these into a process of application within this first fiscal year of 2021. There may be additional sites that may make it to the year 22 and year 23. Something that's key that we spoke about with our resident advisory board was the right to return. It is any residents that may need to be temporarily relocated to facilitate rehabilitation or construction will have the right to return to an assigned unit at the development once rehabilitation or construction is completed. As it relates to RAD, we want to make that clear to our residents. Something that's sometimes deemed to not be in the light of redevelopment is that our residents didn't have rights, and our residents do have rights. No pre-screening or rescreening of our tenants upon conversion will happen. Pursuant to RAD statute, at a conversion, current households are not subject to rescreening, income eligibility, or income targeting provisions. So I wanted to highlight a little of that, Ms. Todd and commissioners, a little bit about the public housing FSS program. We're currently participating, we currently have participants that will continue to be eligible for SSF in the RAD conversion. PHAs are typically allowed to use any FSS funds granted previously to serve our FSS participants who live in units converted by RAD. So that's also something that I wanted to highlight. Okay. Let's see here. Like I mentioned before, I'm not going to necessarily read it verbatim because it's out there. As it relates to our capital fund, education and training, commissioners, you all are aware that we have a real estate advisor on board with us as our consultant. And one of the key things that I know Ms. Herrera plans to do is do a workshop and educating or bringing up to speed any of our commissioners who may not be familiar with our capital fund budget or revisions that we can make, any decision towards how some of this conversion works. So we're looking to plan that as well. Let me see here. And that's pretty much it. Everything else that's listed is just the notice, qualifications, and information that HUD provides for each PHA that's considering RAD conversion.
Any questions for real estate development?
I guess I'll go ahead and offer my thoughts on this too. This is one thing I think that is ultimately something that Mr. Northern wants to do. And I know we've kind of talked about it some in meetings and in offhand comments, but one thing that I think would be helpful for real estate development in general is to have kind of a snapshot of our current portfolio, where we're currently, what our yearly plan is for that portfolio with specific comments to each property, and then where we are, where the next, say, tying into our 5-year plan where we are for those properties as well, and then which programs are we using to implement. And I think we've kind of done this at certain points, but if this annual plan, if anybody's coming to our website or to find out about HABD and what we're doing, to me, that needs to be at the top of this section. Here are our properties. Here are the programs we're implementing this next year. We kind of go straight into demolition and some other stuff without really saying why we're doing that. So I think from just almost a public information perspective, it would be helpful to see that laid out a little clearer in the annual plan, but also something that I think overall would be helpful. And if that's something that we can't, I know some of this stuff is on a time crunch that we have to get out. If it's something that can't be done immediately, I think at least to note that maybe that's an initiative for the year, that there's going to be something put together to do that.
Commissioner Patassi, we're working on that currently with our internal team, along with our consultant, to try to develop a holistic plan and a real approach to repositioning our properties. And you're right, we're in that process. We just started that process around middle of February. And so as far as that time crunch is accurate, we didn't have time to have it in now. We want to pull internal information and external information together. I provided just commissioners and resident leaders as we move forward, understanding that as you also mentioned the time crunch, but also the changes that may take place based on the various funding sources or the need for certain properties to be repositioned based on environmental or other items that may come available.
Thank you. And I don't speak for the rest of the commissioners here, so obviously they may have different thoughts, but I would be satisfied if there was just a simple remark in the annual plan that that's something that we're putting together. So then next year when we come back, we could say, hey, we knocked that off, and here's what it looks like. So that way we can kind of all keep ourselves accountable.
Duly noted, sir. Appreciate that. We get that in there.
Any more feedback, questions? If not, we'll move on to occupancy by police officers. And that is housing operations, Mr. Blankenship.
Thank you. Currently, Freedom Manor is our only site. They have a courtesy officer that lives on site in Unit 308. The officer, as part of his signed agreement, is responsible for assisting management in providing courteous presence among clients whenever on the property, and in assisting management in the enforcement of the rules and regulations regarding all common and recreational areas, also as outlined by the lease. He also has a list of 21 items there per his lease agreement that he is responsible for working with management on. Are there any questions regarding occupancy by police officer at Freedom Manor?
Commissioner Lewis, are you there?
I'm here.
Yes, I would just like to get your input on how that's working out with the on-site police officer. I don't have any knowledge of how that's working, so I would definitely, your knowledge of what's taking place there at Freedom Manor.
Well, I don't have a lot of dealings with our courtesy officer, but I understand he does conversate with a lot of the residents out back. And some of the residents did question the shift that he's working and the tasks that he will be doing. Some of them was questionable about if they needed help. If they had to call 911 themselves, then what would he be doing? It's something that we're discussing now on what his really roles are. But he was, at one time, a resident had a problem on the 4th floor. He was instrumental in getting assistance there, but we haven't really had a chance to have a meeting. We do have plans to have him at one of our meetings so he can discuss everything with the clients as they come in. Because as you know, we get new clients every week, so we was trying to wait until we got a full house so he could discuss everything with everybody.
Okay, well, my recommendation is, I just want to make sure you're comfortable with, some of the duties that the officer is charged with based on what we have in this draft document, and so I would feel a lot more comfortable, once we approve this document, the final document, I guess at the next board meeting, that you would have had a conversation with whoever you need to have a conversation with to make sure that these items are correct and they are in sync with what you want to see there at Freedom Manor.
Well, the courtesy officer cannot handle some of the, I don't think he's able to handle some of the duties that the clients at Freedom Manor really need, because we do have problems with our doors. Sometimes we be in here most of the night, the doors does not close good. And they may open half of the night. Their concern is somebody from the park or someplace else, may see the door cracked and just come on in. And even though the courtesy officer may be making some rounds, these are things that he cannot take care of because he's not right there on duty. So it's a few concerns about problems in the building and not having someone on duty with us at all times. So that is being discussed with the clients, and like I say, a lot of them are concerned about their safety.
Well, and I think that's a part of the minutes we discussed. That was before we even move forward with the renovation of Freedom Manor. With that was one of the items that we discussed, that we wanted to see a full-time security there at Freedom Manor. And so if that's not taking place, then that's not a part of the agreement that I told that we had. We move forward with the resolution.
Well, Commissioner, that is not taking place, and it is a need in this building. It is a need. Our residents are not assisted living there, independent people. They do have a right to sit out back or to sit out front, whatever. But we always have someone here, like on the weekend. If someone get a package, last week, someone's medication was left outside. So whoever UPS or whoever delivered it, set it outside of the building. If we had security or someone on duty, they could have at least brought it in, and they could have rang the bell to get in, because there's nobody here to open the gate or anything on the weekend. So it have to come to the front and ring someone's doorbell. But if you don't know the doorbell and you delivering something, it just sits out front.
Well,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we can do, and I'm sorry to cut you off, sir, is just, let's look at the scope of work and duties and make sure that we start meeting with the clients at Freedom Manor so they can understand the role of the courtesy officer. And if we have agreement in place that have 24 hours or extended times, we need to ensure that's there. Some duties, I wouldn't want a resident running around the building or calling the courtesy officer if it's a 911 call. So I think we need to clearly articulate, all those situations and continually adjust as they come, to fruition, and we start seeing some of the, situations occur. But I'll make sure that our team works with Ms. Lewis and the rest of the clients there, so we all understand the exact roles and responsibilities and help eliminate some of the issues that we're having.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Northern.
Okay, no problem.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Davis, also.
Uh-huh.
Thank you, Mr. Northern, commissioners. Now we'll move forward to the project-based vouchers and other capital grant programs, and both of those are real estate development. Ms. Hilliard.
One second, Ms. Todd. I have a black screen here, a blank screen. I hear you. Give me 1 second. In the plan year, HABD will implement the project-based voucher program as we have in the past and continue to assist in repositioning strategies. We've identified at least, we are utilizing at least 220 PBVs for our Southtown Court redevelopment project at this time. As it relates to other capital grant programs, HABD will apply for HUD Capital Fund grants as they become available. HABD will also consider applying for grants to assist in development of affordable housing, public safety, and social services. Again, our real estate advisor, along with our financial consultant that's on board with HABD, has taken a look at our annual budget for this fiscal year as it relates to any capital fund grant improvements.
Just to add something, I know that we've had these conversations and this ties into development. You know, everything we do kind of ties into one or another type of activity. But we are working and preparing an RFP. I know when I arrived here in Birmingham, there was a number of development projects that were knocking on our door for particular support or partnerships. And we're coming out with an RFP. So and we've made note to all those various interested development partners that it'll be a general RFP and explain kind of the details of the partnership, and that's how we move forward. One of our goals is to ensure that that we capture all our replacement units in terms of units that's been torn down and not replaced as of yet, and our partnerships go toward utilizing those new development partners and the units that they create as replacement housing, so that we can continually keep the number of affordable housing and don't lose affordable housing that's needed desperately in our city of Birmingham. So that's something that should be coming out soon, so that individuals will understand all the details that's related to how we want to partner in the future and how we want to create affordable housing in the various communities.
Thank you for that added feedback, Mr. Northern.
Thank you, Mr. Northern. Ms. Hilliard, any other feedback or comments related to project-based vouchers or capital grant programs?
Ms. Todd, just to clear it up, I'm not sure if everybody on the call is familiar, but a lot of times when developers come to us for partnerships, they're looking for project-based vouchers. We have a limited supply of them. Some of them we probably need to utilize ourselves. HUD allots us to have a certain percentage. I believe it's up to 25% of our annual allotment or our allotment of vouchers. And by us utilizing creativity in our partnerships to provide replacement housing, we're able to go over that number, but only if we can effectively replace units so that we can maintain our level of affordability for the clients that we're serving. So just so that individuals know, the project-based vouchers are tied directly to our development projects in order to help make sure, whether it's internal development projects or external development partnerships, to ensure that the projects are financially stable and can move forward.
Thank you, Mr. Northern. So we'll move forward to the progress report. And below are statements regarding HABD's progress made towards meeting goals in the previous 5-year plan. So the first PH goal, expand the supply of assisted housing, and that'll be section 8, Ms. Candy Drake.
Good morning again. HABD received 24 additional mainstream vouchers in August 2020. HABD elected to participate in the Foster Youth Initiative, February 2020, where we are currently assisting 9 prior foster youth with vouchers and have the ability to house up to 25 per fiscal year.
Thank you, Ms. Drake. The next PH goal, improve the quality of assisted housing. That would be housing op. Mr. Blankenship.
Okay. Every year, HUD issues scoring for public housing through the Public Housing Assessment system, or FAWS. The previous year, because of COVID, HUD released a statement on April the 10th, 2020, that stated for PHA that has a FAWS score pending as of the date of that notice, and any PHA with a fiscal year ending on or before December 31, 2020, HUD would not issue a new FAWS score unless the PHA requested it to be done so. Otherwise, the previous FAWS score would carry over. HABD, because of improving its physical scores, the last round of REACT scores was the first time in HABD's history, maybe, that we had every site pass, which was a huge undertaking, but it was a great win for the teams here at HABD. Also, there were items taken care of to increase the financial score. So HABD did send a notice to the HUD field office on May 29, 2020, requesting the new FAWS score be issued. At this time, the score still has not been issued and is still under review. CMAP score for Section 8 remained unchanged for 2020. Also, even in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, HABD housing operations staff continued to make concerted efforts to maintain high public housing occupancy numbers in an effort to provide decent, safe, and sanitary housing to persons of low or moderate income. The agency continued to use force account teams last year that were tasked with improving the physical conditions of units prior to reoccupancy. The application process, previously removed from each individual site and made centralized, continues to ensure maximum application processing and occupancy efforts. Staff accountability regarding occupancy rates as part of the manager's yearly goals. By doing so, we closed out our fiscal year of 2020 with an adjusted occupancy rate of 98.9%. Both Section 8 and public housing continue to have high reporting rates for the recertifications and interims, and HABD received 489 tenant protection vouchers for relocation efforts this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. Our next PH goal, increase assistant housing choices, Section 8, Ms. Kenji Drake.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Voucher payment standards increase and are currently at 105% of FMR, fair market rate. Increased participation of the voucher home ownership program. We have increased home ownership participation from 4 in 2016, 8 in early 2020, and to 13 in early 2021. Currently, we are demolishing Southtown, where there will be approximately 212 project-based vouchers.
Thank you, Ms. Drake. Next PH goal, provide an improved living environment, and that's housing operation. Mr. Blankenship.
Thank you. Under HUD's Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, also known as RAD, HABD executed the physical rehabilitation of Freedom Manor. Currently in the reoccupancy stage, following construction work, Freedom Manor is specifically designated for elderly residents age 62 and older and is part of the Project-Based Rental Assistance, or PBRA, portion of the RAD program. We also saw the installation of surveillance cameras and license plate reader systems at Southtown Court. In 2018, a 5-year cyclical painting program was implemented for the interior painting of units at Morrell Todd Homes. That continues at this time. In 2020, HABD continued with the execution of the Community Safety Partners contract with the Birmingham Police Department, which includes community policing and crime efforts on all HABD public housing properties.
Thank you, Mr. Blankenship. Next PH goal, promote self-sufficiency and asset development of assistant households, and that is Ms. French. Special project.
Okay. Our goal is to promote self-sufficiency and asset development of assisted households. Goal number 1 is to increase and maintain the participation rate in the FSS program to at least 100% annually. Absolutely. Goal number 2 is 25% of FSS program participants maintaining employment. We'll change that. That needs to be 100%. Increase the number of FSS participants with escrow accounts annually. Also Goal number 4, to continue to sponsor the annual George A. Pegues Annual Memorial FSS Golf Tournament to raise monies to assist the participants with supportive services, including but not limited to childcare, transportation, and education. Goal number 5 is to sponsor an annual career and job fair to increase the number of working families participating in the FSS program. I think, is this me too?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. The next goal, ensure equal opportunity and affirmatively further fair housing, that is real estate development. And they also have take a leadership role in the creation of significant additional organizational capacity to provide and maintain quality affordable housing in Birmingham and the region. Both of those are real estate development. Ms. Hilliard.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. HABD continues to comply with the Fair Housing Act regulations in an effort to provide non-discriminatory housing and community development programs. HABD employees attend fair housing training annually to ensure employees are knowledgeable of Fair Housing Act updates. HABD continues to comply with the Fair Housing Act by increasing awareness to our residents and community partners with various HUD conversion transformation programs. Another one of our goals is to take leadership role in the creation of significant additional organizational capacity to provide and maintain quality affordable housing in Birmingham and the region. As we've stated prior, HABD has embarked on an aggressive plan to reposition our real estate portfolio. Repositioning is a mechanism through which properties are removed from federal public housing restrictions and converted to project-based rental assistance, allowing access to private capital for renovation and redevelopment. Decreased federal funding has resulted in a backlog of capital needs for public housing across the country, over $60 billion. So HABD estimates our capital needs at over $500 million. HUD has provided PHAs such as HABD with a variety of tools to reposition its public housing portfolio. HABD anticipates to use most of the tools available as described through a combination of tax-exempt bonds, federal and state tax credit equity, private mortgage funds, and limited soft secondary financing. Most of that's in the private sector. HABD will touch every property in our inventory over the next 1 to 8 years. Based on the physical and financial assessments, properties will be repositioned, utilizing various redevelopment methods, including moderate and substantial rehabilitation, disposition and demolition, and new construction of replacement units. Our strategy here at HABD will be to improve the quality of affordable housing and ensure that there is no loss in affordable housing units. In fact, our strategy includes expanding the number of affordable housing units to serve our community. HABD will partner with experienced development teams to assist us in expediting our repositioning strategy. Ms. Northern has already mentioned how we've had a plethora of interested developing groups that have reached out to HABD. Through a formal solicitation process, we will select multiple development partners that will work with HABD in redevelopment of existing properties.
Thank you, Ms. Hilliard. Next PHA goal, increase the public awareness of HABD's resources and programs that are offered to assist in improving the lives of our residents. And that is Ms. Sheree Harris, Director of Communications.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Good morning, everyone. So since I've been in my role in 2019, February of 2019, we have had dozens of news releases written about HABD events and housing initiatives and other good news, and numerous HABD events covered by local media and newspapers. We're active on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram with a goal of at least 3 posts a day. We now have a new HABD backdrop, some people call them step and repeats, to use for social media videos and TV interviews. And there have been items purchased to improve the quality of our social media videos as well: a tripod, lavalier mic, LED cube light, and I have a new iPhone 12, which has very good quality for pictures and videos. We began the HABD Partner Spotlight segment on social media to highlight our partners and their efforts to improve the lives of HABD clients. And we also have a HABD Resident and Neighborhood Spotlight segment on social media just to promote our clients and the great things that they're doing. We began using a software called Constant Contact to promote HABD News through email and social media. And that's just helping us to creatively do promote things and do emails. In fact, we're using Constant Contact to do our news blasts that we've just now started, and our monthly HABD news and community events e-newsletter, which will be, our first one will go out this month through Constant Contact. So look out for that. We have a sign-up form out on social media right now where we're trying to gather emails from everyone, including the public, so they can subscribe to our monthly email, monthly e-newsletter. So we had a COVID-19 info text alert system implemented for our clients. We now have a new HABD 2021 fact sheet on social media, which is a snapshot of our agency, our Housing Choice Voucher Program, RAD, and our redevelopment projects. We began a HABD Team Spotlight, which the first one was posted this week, and there'll be another one tomorrow. Our goal is to do two a week to spotlight our staff, and we also will eventually include our resident council president, so the public can know more about who they are, what they do as advocates for our clients. So last year there was a Southtown Court redevelopment strategy that was implemented. So a lot of community engagement was done to reach out to our clients about what was going on there so they can be informed about the redevelopment process. Lots of stuff on social media, messaging about relocation, Section 3 opportunities, and just the redevelopment process in general. And there was also a HABD 360 website, which was designed just for information about the Southtown Court redevelopment process. We recently had some great videos and messaging surrounded around Mr. Northern's new role as our new president CEO. And those videos and messaging were on social media and our website. Mr. Northern was also featured in a really nice Black History Month ad in the Birmingham Times. We have had a promotional videos for our redevelopment efforts at Freedom Manor and Villas at Titusville. We now have a COVID-19 health crisis and vaccine client communication services that are underway right now. So there will be monthly one-pager newsletters. That first one will go out this month as well, going out to our residents. There'll be yard signs, door hangers, social media messaging, just things to continue to promote safety and things that our residents can do to stay safe during this ongoing health crisis. And that will take place over the next 6 months, or that will last for the next 6 months. So there's social media content now to promote HABD's new Office of Constituent Concerns, and there's a video on our website as well. And then lastly is our 2020 newsletter that went out in December and was distributed to our residents, our clients, staff, board members, resident leadership, and community partners. It was titled COVID-19 People Helping People Through the Pandemic. And it was a special edition dedicated to telling stories related to the COVID-19 pandemic and how HABD has continued its mission despite the ongoing health crisis. The newsletter included articles about how HABD's operations have changed to keep employees safe and clients safe while still serving the needs of our clients, how CARES Act funds are being used to keep residents, our clients safe, and how HABD developed partnerships to provide on-site COVID-19 testing and education in our communities. And lastly, there was also an interview with our then incoming President CEO, Mr. Northern, talking about him taking over leadership during the health crisis. And that is all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris Turner. And the last one, leverage public-private partnerships to provide more resources and opportunities for our clients. And community engagement, Armand Matthews. We'll talk about these two.
Okay, good morning, everyone. The Youth Build grant specifically serves at-risk youth ages 16 to 24 that are current or former high school dropouts with the greatest challenges to finding jobs, with a ceiling of over $1.5 million granted over 3 years. HABD is an eligible applicant for this grant and will apply for it in its next cycle. This will enable us to emphasize the educational opportunities for our clients, as well as being a way to the trade industry. We look forward to having a successful application and bringing these opportunities to our clients. The AmeriCorps Vista Grant provides opportunities for Americans 18 years or older from a diverse range of backgrounds to dedicate a year of full-time service with an organization or sponsor to create or expand programs designed to empower individuals and communities in overcoming poverty. Public, private, or faith-based nonprofit organizations, as well as local or state agencies, can become an AmeriCorps Vista project sponsor. The goals and objectives of AmeriCorps Vistas are directed towards alleviating problems of low-income communities.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Does the board have any questions or feedback or concerns about our progress report?
So I just want to address going back to I think it would be considered under real estate development slash operations. I guess there's some dotted line areas for both of those where we talked about addressing some of the rehabilitation needs for our properties. And it was addressed in this draft document. I wouldn't mind seeing us going a little bit further, addressing a lot of the deferred maintenance that we've had through the years. I know that's something that's been taking place for quite a long time. That's something that I've addressed, I know, for the last 5 or 6 years. And look, I know we're talking millions and millions of dollars of deferred maintenance. I get that. And I know we are repositioning our portfolio with a lot of our sites, and we're looking to redevelop those. But we have to be realistic and know that we don't have the money nor the leverage to reposition our entire portfolio at one time. So that means that you will continue to see deferred maintenance on these properties through the years. And, I just think that we need to be a little bit more laser focused on addressing some immediate needs for our residents when it comes to their living conditions, i.e. Living under mold and lead and roach infested units. I think that those items could be addressed and, without saying, okay, well, we're going to redevelop this property in the next 5 to 10 years. Well, I get that, but there needs to be some immediate attention to a lot of these units where our residents are not living in conditions that are conducive to a livable environment. So that's one of the things that I think we need to kind of make more robust and constant is paying attention to our deferred maintenance, how we can address that. That's something that we've tried to address in the annual plan for the last 5 years, I know. Do I think we've made some strides to combat some of this? I do. I do think we've made a good faith effort, if you will, but a good faith effort is not getting it done when we're talking about taking care of our residents and making sure they're living in conditions to raise a family and not having to live under some of these conditions. So I would like to see a more robust and constant plan that goes just beyond maybe some cyclical painting. I'm talking about addressing needs that will definitely could make sure that we are providing a decent, safe, sanitary environment for our residents.
Okay, I would like to add something to that, to Commissioner Davis. That should also extend to our refurbished building like Freedom Manor. We need to make sure that whoever we get to work on these buildings are doing exactly what they should. These residents are subject to a thermostat reading 50 degrees, but registering 81 in their apartment to the point that they can't breathe, where the chiller is cutting off constantly. These are things that I think we should see that are properly taken care of before we expose our residents. You're talking about senior citizens. They don't need to be subjected to this type of thing. So if you don't have the right people working on it, I think it's up to us to see that we get the right construction and the right companies to do what we are paying for. We spend a lot of money on this building, you know, to be called out every week. So this is something that we should watch who we get to work with. They need to do a little bit better. We need to do a little bit better on watching who we get to do our jobs. Thank you.
It sounds like we might be able to add in a paragraph to the real estate development portion, and maybe even just operations, that is a constant evaluation and tracking of deferred maintenance on a monthly basis as part of the annual plan. And I know we get, here's what's been fixed from a window and here and all that, but I mean, it's got to be an overview of a holistic overview that then we track, and then we see updates each month. And I think if that sort of arrangement was put into the plan, that would be a nice forward-looking statement that would allow us to continue to address those needs.
And some of what the commissioners are saying we have there is just in a basic budgeted format. So again, pulling that information out and kind of giving some articulation on the points of what's going on. A lot of those deferred maintenance items are in the capital fund program or the 5-year plan, our annual 5-year plans that we are currently working on and under and trying to get approved today. We just need to pull it out and just point them out that we are dedicating, just as I mentioned earlier, we're dedicating a certain percentage of funding to security upgrades, lighting, and camera readers and things like that. We have some of the deferred maintenance items, but we just need to bring it out. So I appreciate those comments around that, so that clients will know that we're not just waiting for 8 years to demolish a property, but we're also maintaining a property. And even with the security and lighting upgrades, one of our focus is to make sure when we do major upgrades like that and investments, that we do it with the mindset that these items may be moved later on some properties.
Thank you, Mr. Northern and commissioners. Now I think we'll take questions or comments from the public on the overall annual plan.
Excuse me, Ms. Todd. We got to go over the capital fund forms too.
Yes, ma'am. It's at the end. Okay. I think Ms. Hilliard, real estate development.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Todd. I was got a message from Ms. Herrera. She was trying to get in because we've been working with our real estate advisor as well as our financial consultant and pulling down what's kind of needed for our 2021 budget. And just here, when we're looking at the line items for operations, we've obligated a cost estimate of about $2,573,000. Administration, about $1.2 million for our general capacity activity, about 7.7 million. And I do apologize, Ms. Todd, I'm still looking here from my iPhone here.
And if you want to jump to our bond debt obligation, we've obligated about $1.2 million. And this is all for the 2020 year grant, 2021, I'm sorry, year grant.
And I know that some of the board members understand this, or the general public though. We have, when we get an annual approval of one of our capital fund programs, we have so long to obligate and expend those funds. So Ms. Hillard talked about the 2021 budget, but we still have a number of other grants that we're still working off of with some of those similar line items, or maybe different line items that we have in those grants. And those will all be a part of our submission within the plan.
Ms. Hilliard?
Okay, that was it, Ms. Todd, as far as this. Thank you for your feedback, Mr. Northern. That's correct. We have obligated some of our other funds from previous year's grants to some of our current projects. As it was mentioned earlier, development is a driving force for a lot of our movement here at the agency. So there's been a deeper look into obligating additional funds for improvement. I do want to kind of make a comment to what Commissioner Davis mentioned about deferred maintenance. As we take a look at that with housing operations, we'll make sure we create that report that can be presented. I do want to highlight as far as a few of our sites that are undertaking a few projects that are not related to conversion. They're simply were already obligated, and that's right now we're taking a look at our roof replacement at Collegeville, as well as we completed in 2020 roof replacement and siding at Roosevelt City. We have some HVAC improvement happening at Kimbrough Homes, Illiton Village, as well as we're taking a look at Roosevelt City for the upcoming fiscal year. So that's just to give a little feedback of, we have taken and duly noted our deferred maintenance plan and taking in consideration. I hear from our construction manager all the time about taking a look at our sites and what we have in place right now before conversion.
Thank you, Ms. Hilliard. Any feedback or questions from the board? If none, we'll open it up to the public. Any questions, concerns, feedback concerning the annual plan?
I just have a couple kind of general comments, and I apologize. I've got to run in about 5 minutes. I'm running late, so I'll just try and knock them out real quick. One, I just want to commend everyone. I know this is a lot of information, so you guys did a great job, and my comments are merely to supplement, not to criticize. I think you have done an excellent job, and I appreciate the presentation today. And I think we've taken some nice steps to making our next year's plans more robust, and I think we can continue to grow. So thank you. One, I also appreciate that it flows from the 5-year plan in a clear way. I think that's a good step in the right direction, and I think it gives us some more accountability that we've been wanting to have. From the outset, from the kind of a presentation standpoint, I know this is a draft document. We're putting it into final format and all of that. But one thing I would really hope that we do is provide an executive summary. So I understand that much of this is kind of a HUD document that you have to submit, but ultimately this report and plan, this is something that's on our website. It's something that gets circulated. It's really, if somebody comes and looks at what we're doing, this may be the first thing they see. And so I really want to make sure, we take this technical document and summarize it in a way that, if you're not super familiar with some of these programs and super familiar with who we are as an agency and our properties and our clients, where they live and what we're trying to do, not just this year, but in the future, let's take it to square one, present where we are and where we want to be, and then how this report ties into it. So I really hope that we have some sort of introduction and executive summary so that we can put our best foot forward, that then flows to a table of contents where one can go and easily see, all right, here's what we're doing for each of those kind of subcategories. I know it sounds like a broken record with ease of access, but I just think it's important from our messaging and so that people know what we're doing and how they can work with us, from our partners to our clients to the city to everybody. One thing I know, we mentioned CARES Act funds. I think it would be nice to see a little more build out as far as kind of what our annual plan is in relation to use of those funds, because it's such a new category of, really kind of what we're doing. And if it plays into some of the categories that are already mentioned, I don't want to create more work for everybody, but I think in 2021, what we're doing with those funds is something that, people would want to know. One thing that we mentioned in our 5-year plan that I don't know if it really got spelled out a lot, and I see that we've done some with it in our marketing, so I was really happy to see that. But I think both internally and client facing, I'd like to see what we're going to do technology wise. What new systems are we implementing other than some of the public safety and social media campaigns? Is there anything else that we are focusing on for this next year in relation to how we leverage technological solutions to be a better agency? And then the last thing I would say is, and it could be something that's simply part of a summary, but, I'd like to see us mention how we're going to be working with the greater Birmingham community, both the city of Birmingham, but also many of the other agencies and boards. I think, it was really great to highlight Ms. Thompson's new role, because I think, the BCRI, the library board, the Birmingham Land Bank, all of these agencies and boards are great opportunities, not just to partner with for summer programs for our children, but also for, some of the move to home ownership programs, working with the land bank and making sure our real estate teams, we're not duplicating efforts. If there's somebody that's already done the work and we could tap into it, I'd love to see us do that. So, and then particularly with the city at large, if the infrastructure plan that's in the works gets approved, there's many different ways that we as an agency can also can partner with the city. So I'd at least like to kind of make sure that that's highlighted, that we're continuing to look into those avenues. So anyways, that's kind of my bullet points. I think the report is great, and I appreciate all the hard work in it. And I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions or feedback?
Yeah, so I want to kind of piggyback off what Commissioner Pentazzi said concerning the staff. I think you guys put together a great document, draft document. It's definitely got us moving in the right direction. And, like I said, with a couple tweaks that we've addressed, I will feel really comfortable about, moving forward with this document on next week. So kudos to you, Mr. Northern and the staff, for putting together this draft document and fairly short notice. I know with you coming on board, I know that this has been a tough kind of, road to hoe here, trying to put everything together to put this before the board, in this short order. So I just want to give kudos to you and the staff for working together to provide this document for the public and the board to view. And I really think we're about, 90%, 95% there with this draft document. We just need to add a couple things, tweak a few things, and I will feel very good about this document.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any more feedback, questions, concerns, board or the public?
So Commissioner Lewis, Vice Chair Lewis.
Okay, I'll be having a little difficulty. I'm here though.
Okay, yeah, I don't know who's all on the call, but I definitely know that one of the things that HUD is definitely looking for when we submit this, when they ask for the minutes for the public hearing, is that we definitely gave ample time and opportunity for members of the of the public, whether they be public housing residents or not, to provide feedback or comments. And so I just want to make sure that we I know Ms. Todd did ask that, but I just want to make sure from the board, vice chair and chair's perspective, that it is addressed in the minutes that we did give them an opportunity to speak.
Okay, I'm in agreement with you. We did give them a chance to speak. I also asked the one that's present right here. Nobody actually wanted to speak. They did hear everything, but nobody chose to speak. So
Okay.
We did what we needed to do. They had an opportunity to speak if they chose to do so.
Also, we accept written comments if individuals submitted them, and we add those also. So whether it's in meeting setting, Zoom, or written comments or concerns or questions, we try to add all those into our various comments so that can see that individuals had input and say as part of our overall plan process.
I also want to add and share that we did have a meeting with our resident advisory board this week, and we did receive questions and comments from them and have those noted as well, and they'll be a part of this plan moving forward. And we'll meet with them again for additional questions they may have on tomorrow. So just want to make that noted for the public.
Thank you, Ms. Foster, for that.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes the presentation on my end. Mr. Northern or commissioners?
Okay, well, I want to thank everybody for participating, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Northern. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for everybody that participated, the commissioners for taking your time out to help us get through this process, and any clients or any citizens of Birmingham that was on the call. We appreciate you guys paying attention to what we're providing. We understand the partnerships that's needed, and that we're the voice of affordable housing in the city of Birmingham. So we want to make sure that just because we're the voice, that we're able to listen and you can be heard also. To the team that helped put all this together, thank you guys so much. You did a great job. I'm really excited about our future and how we continually grow. And I think the comments, suggestions that the commissioners made will only allow us to become better as an organization and provide the right type of communication messaging to the community at large, so they can understand what we do as an agency, and we don't operate in a silo. So again, I just want to say thank you for everybody that participated, all the comments, concerns, and hard work. And we'll be working hard to address those issues or comments and have it ready for next week. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, goodbye.